Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 5th of November and we are going to deal with three very important topics which are in news. Although one of them is a requested topic, but it is in itself a very important topic which was in news, so that had to be covered. The topic is Russia revokes ratification of Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty is an international treaty which came into existence in the year 1996, which comprehensively banned nuclear testing. One condition attached with this treaty was that it had to be ratified by the 44 countries which are having a nuclear program. Nuclear program does not mean only nuclear bombs. It means those countries which are having nuclear bombs or which are having a civilian nuclear program, like they are generating power by nuclear fuel, nuclear power plants and all. Unfortunately, this treaty was not ratified by 8 countries and hence this did not become into force. So this is one such thing. Russia initially ratified it, but now it has revoked the ratification of it. So this is the news which we need to see. Then Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This was also attached to this. So we need to understand that what this Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty is, because you'll get the entire, I would say, picture of, I would say, nuclear diplomacy all across the world. So we are going to study about this Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty also, because in the signing up or in the building up of this Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, there were other treaties also which were signed. And Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was one of the very, I would say, landmark treaties that was into picture when Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty was being discussed. So that will also be discussed. It will complete this. Then last is International Atomic Energy Agency. This is again an international agency which was established way back in 1957. Atoms for Peace. There's a very famous speech of the president of USA of that time, that was Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now this IAEA is under the aegis of UN. This is also under the aegis of UN. Okay. And this IAEA is for putting safeguards to the nuclear usages all across the world. It is kind of a regulatory agency or a regulatory body which regulates that nuclear fuel is being used for peaceful purposes only. IAEA is that agency which is helping in implementing and monitoring the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This is basically the significance of this treaty, of this agency, sorry. So all these three very important, I would say, aspects of nuclear diplomacy all across the world, and they are presently in news because of Russia revoking ratification of Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. So let us get started. Russia revokes the ratification of Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. A Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty which was signed by multiple countries in the year 1996. But the condition attached for bringing this treaty into force was that these countries, after signing that treaty in United Nations, get it ratified in their respective parliaments. If 44 countries get it ratified in their respective parliaments, then only this treaty will come into force. Unfortunately, 8 countries all across the world have not ratified it. India, one of them, USA, one of them. Which simply means that these 8 countries have kept doors open for itself to do nuclear testing in the future. Fortunately, Russia signed it and ratified it also in its parliament. The year was 1996, USSR was disintegrated, the Cold War was over. But now, Russia wants to revoke the ratification it had done of CTBT in its respective parliament. That can be done, revoking of ratification can be done. Means they want to come back, and they want to come back to that position where India, USA and those 8 countries are, which simply means that Russia has signed CTBT but not ratified it. Ratification is being revoked. So this Russian, I would say, authorities say that this will bring us at par with USA. Russian authorities also claim that this does not mean that we will be going for nuclear testing. This simply means that if USA will do testing, then we will do testing. That is it. So, by all means, they were wanting to keep themselves at par with USA. So, let us get started in this. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday signed a law effectively revoking Russia's ratification of a key nuclear treaty. Revoking ratification means earlier Russia had ratified it, but now they want to revoke that ratification. Means they want to come to that level where the treaty is signed by Russia but not ratified it. So let us create 3 steps here. Signing that treaty in the United Nations. The signing will be followed by ratification. Now, the condition set under this treaty, that is CTBT, is all the nations sign it and all the nations ratify it, then only this treaty will come into force. Before Russia, 8 countries had not ratified it. They had signed it. And the remaining countries had signed it and ratified it also. Russia was one of them. Russia is just revoking ratification, means signatory it is, but it is not ratifying it. So, the countries which will not be ratifying it will become 8 plus 1, that is 9. This plus 1 will be Russia. This is the scenario. Putin previously said revoking Russia's 2000 ratification. In the year 2000, Russia ratified it. Of the 1996 Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty is a move that would merely mirror the position taken by United States. Russian President Putin is saying that this revoking ratification is merely a move that will mirror USA's stand. Mirror USA's stand means USA is one of those countries who have not ratified it. Russia now will be one of those countries who have not ratified it. Okay. Which has signed but never ratified the treaty. Russian officials have said that exiting the treaty does not mean that Kremlin, means the Russian parliament, will resume nuclear testing. This does not mean that it will resume nuclear testing. It would only consider doing so if the US decides to do the same. Okay, so this is what they are saying. They are wanting to keep themselves at par with USA in all sense. So this is what revoking ratification is meaning here. Now let us look at the evolution of this CTBT as a treaty. Means it was signed in 1996, but there might be some build up to that. So let us look at the build up. We start from the year 1945. That year where the United States of America for the very first time tested nuclear bombs. Coincidentally, 1945 also happens to be the year when USA used these nuclear bombs for the very first time, and that has been the only time in the history of mankind where nuclear bombs have been used. 6th August and 9th August, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. The testing, it is said, was done somewhere in April, May. So, United States conducted the world's first successful nuclear weapons test, 1945. 1949, USSR conducted its first successful nuclear weapons test. So, it was also not behind. These were the two, I would say, major power blocks at that time. And from 1945 till 1996, 1996 was the year when this CTBT was adopted. Many nuclear tests were carried out. More than 2000 nuclear tests were carried out. 1032 means 1032 by the United States, 715 by Soviet Union, Britain carried out 45 tests, France 210, and China 45 tests. Apart from it, India, Pakistan, 1974, we did our first nuclear test, that is Operation Smiling Buddha, Pokhran 1, it is called as. That was also there. So more than 2000 nuclear tests were carried out from 1945 till 1996. What was the concern? The concern, apart from the arms race, nuclear weapons were increasing, that was there. But apart from that, there was another concern, that was that while testing, a lot of radiations are getting leaked, which has the capacity to harm the vegetation in the vicinity as well as the people in the vicinity. So those tests have to be banned. Why to do those tests? There was an inherent assumption also that by banning those tests, there might be a possibility that, the possession of nuclear weapons will also stop. So this was the journey from 1945 till 1996, 1945 USA, 1949 USSR, and in the midst you've seen so many tests. So the concern was rising, the concern with respect to this thing, that radiation leakage and all, or harm through the radiations leaked by the testing of nuclear weapons. So in 1963, Limited Nuclear Test Ban Treaty (LTBT) was signed. LTBT prohibited nuclear testing in atmosphere, outer space and underwater, but underground tests were permitted. So this was something which was allowed by this Limited Test Ban Treaty in 1963. And India, when in 1974 conducted its first nuclear test, Operation Smiling Buddha, that was an underground test. Okay, in underground tests, chances of radiations getting leaked are minimal. Okay, I would not say zero, but they are minimal. Then comes 1974. That was Threshold Test Ban Treaty. Threshold means you set a threshold, you set a limit, and that limit was 150 kilotons. Whenever testing had to be done, the intensity of the blasts should not release energy beyond 150 kilotons. That was a threshold set. It was believed, and it was scientifically proven also, that if less energy is released, means less, I would say, radiations will be spreading. That was there. 1996, finally, the Cold War was over, and there was a need for this comprehensive banning on the tests. Actually, between here 1963 to 1974, 1968, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was signed. And while signing that Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, it was being discussed that comprehensive ban should be there, means complete ban should be there on testing. It was a ban on testing only, not a ban on possessing nuclear weapons. So, but it was not being able to get adopted or even passed by the United Nations. But now, 1996 it was, the Cold War was over, USA was the hegemon, and USA was also helping Russia in adopting capitalism and all. That was basically an incident known as shock therapy. Now, rivalries were at an all-time low at that time, and United Nations found it the right time to introduce such kind of a treaty which would comprehensively ban testing. So in the year 1996, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty was adopted, which put a blanket ban on the explosive testing of nuclear weapons. On September 10, 1996, it was adopted. Thus signed. So this was the story of how Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty came into existence, which comprehensively means they put a blanket ban on testing. Before this, Threshold Test Ban Treaty, threshold was set that 150 kilotons or more energy should not be released in that testing. Limited means tests were only allowed underground, not on the surface, not in the water, not in the space. Then testing, though, so many tests were conducted. Did the CTBT stop the testing? This is the big question. Since the CTBT, 10 nuclear tests have taken place. So this simply means that it did not stop. Okay. India conducted 2 in 1998. It was the second nuclear test which India did, which made India a complete superpower, nuclear superpower. Okay. So this was there. Pakistan also did 2 in 1998. North Korea conducted tests in 2006, 2009, 2013, 16, 2016, twice it conducted, and 2017. The United States. Now this is very interesting and is a place from where UPSC can pose questions. The United States last tested in 1992 before CTBT got signed. China and France in 1996, technically before CTBT was signed. Soviet Union in 1990 before it got disintegrated. Soviet Union was a union having 15 republics. Okay. And it got disintegrated in 1991, but before that it did testing also. A notable fact over here is, when USSR got disintegrated, then 15 countries were formed out of it. Russia was the largest country in USSR. So Russia, was formed as a country, and largely the assets of USSR were taken by Russia. Okay. So Russia had nuclear weapons and all. Russia, which inherited most of the Soviet nuclear arsenal, has never conducted a nuclear test. Means Russia came into existence as an independent country out of the Union in 1991, and since that it has never conducted a nuclear test. This is something which is to be noted, a fact to be noted. So CTBT did not stop the testing. One line answer to this question was enforcement of CTBT. The treaty, in order to enter into force, must be signed and ratified by 44 specific nuclear technology holder countries. Nuclear technology holder countries means those who are having nuclear weapons or those who are having civilian nuclear program, means they are using nuclear fuels for generating electricity. So around 9 countries in the world are having nuclear weapons. Apart from these 9, 35 countries are there which are, civilian nuclear programmers. Okay. Civilian nuclear program is also there in those 9 countries. For example, India. India is having nuclear weapons. India is also having nuclear power plants. Around 8 nuclear power plants are there in the country. So, this is there. Have all the countries ratified it? 8 of which have yet to ratify the agreement. China, Egypt, India, Iran, Israel, North Korea, Pakistan, and the United States of America. The 9th has now become Russia. Because Russia says that we want to be, or we want to mirror the position of USA. USA has signed it but not ratified it. Russia ratified it in 2000 but has now revoked ratification of it, which simply means that Russia also has signed it but not ratified it now. So it is like this. In 2021, Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of United Nations, urged these countries to ratify CTBT. He said, given its necessity and readiness, it is both disappointing and frustrating that the treaty has not yet entered into force. Means it is not into force. Why? Because ratification by these 8, now 9 countries has not been done. The condition for it coming into force was that the countries sign it and ratify it. Ratifying it simply means that they pass it in their respective parliaments. So this was the story of CTBT. Okay. CTBTO, that is Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization, is a related organization under the United Nations. Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The treaty, signed in the year 1968, came into force in 1970. Non-proliferation simply means to stop the spread. Here, stop the spread of nuclear weapons. Now, what does this treaty mean? This treaty simply means that, there are 5 countries in the world. Those happen to be the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. USA, USSR. At that time when it was getting signed, it was USSR. Now it is Russia. France, UK, and China. These 5 countries will be allowed to have nuclear weapons. Apart from these 5 countries, those who are signing this treaty will not be having or not be possessing nuclear weapons. Means those countries, apart from these 5 countries who are signing the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, are agreeing to the fact that we will not have, and these 5 countries can have nuclear weapons. This is what this treaty was all about. Isn't it hypocritical in nature? This was hypocritical, this was unique also because this was a bargain between nuclear states and non-nuclear states. However, India did not fall into this bargain. India said, I'm not going to sign this treaty because I am living in a hostile neighborhood. China is possessing nuclear weapons. Pakistan is also not signing this treaty. Pakistan has also not signed this treaty. Which simply means, not signing simply means that India can have nuclear weapons. Because India will not violate any international treaty by having nuclear weapons. So this treaty came into effect in 1970. 4 years down the line, India conducted its first nuclear test in 1974. When we conducted our nuclear test, it was basically a matter of criticism, means many countries criticized us, but USA said that India has not violated any international treaty by doing so, by doing this testing. So, is nuclear non-proliferation treaty a success or a failure? We'll have to see. In one matter, it is a success. That is, it has stopped the horizontal spread of nuclear weapons. Means there are less than 10 countries in the world presently, those who are possessing nuclear weapons and have explicitly declared it. 5 though, those countries, permanent 5 are having nuclear weapons. Apart from these 5, India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel. They have explicitly declared that we are having. Apart from it, it is suspected that South Africa, Brazil, or Iran, they might also be having. But, very less countries in the world are having nuclear weapons. This is one notable success. Means it has enabled to stop the horizontal spread of nuclear weapons. Second, it did not stop, this is one such criticism of the treaty, that it did not stop the vertical spread of nuclear weapons. Means those countries who are having, they are keeping on increasing their nuclear arsenals. It is believed that there are more than 16,000 nuclear weapons in the world, Russia having the largest number of them. Okay. So every year nuclear weapons keep on increasing. Their non-proliferation has not been applied. Their proliferation is happening. So let us look into it. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The NPT is an international treaty whose objective is to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and weapons technology, to foster peaceful use of nuclear energy and to further the goal of disarmament. It is the only binding commitment in a multilateral treaty, the goal of disarmament by the nuclear weapon states. It was opened for signature in 1968, came into force in 1970. A total of 191 countries have joined the treaty. Means 191 countries includes those 5 countries, P5, those who are having nuclear weapons. So if I minus 191 from 191, if I minus those 5 countries, 186 will remain. 186 countries are agreeing to the fact that we will not have nuclear weapons. You 5 countries can have. We are okay with that. But India is not okay with that. So India did not sign this treaty. The non-signatories, South Sudan, India, Pakistan, and Israel, never joined the treaty. North Korea actually joined the NPT in 1985 but withdrew in 2003. They said that we don't want to be part of it. We will be doing the testing and all. Key features. The treaty is regarded as the cornerstone of global nuclear non-proliferation regime. Actually, when this treaty was being discussed in 1968, there was also discussions that there should be a comprehensive ban on testing also by the states, by the countries who are possessing nuclear weapons. But comprehensive test ban actually was not there into picture. It came into picture in 1996. So those countries who were having, they kept on doing the testing and nuclear arsenals kept on increasing. The treaty establishes a safeguard system under the responsibility of IAEA, means International Atomic Energy Agency. It is also a related organization under the United Nations which is responsible for ensuring peaceful use of nuclear fuels. Peaceful uses, you can use it for medicinal purposes, for treating cancer and all it is used. You can use it for power generation, that is also a peaceful use. But you should not use it for military purposes, that is for making bombs. So IAEA is given that mandate by NPT to go and inspect, to go and do the audits in the countries which are suspected of having nuclear weapons. Like in Iran, 2013, 14, 15, these were the years when Iran was suspected of, building up nuclear weapons. So IAEA was mandated to go there and inspect, to which Iran refused that we are not allowing IAEA to enter our country. That created a lot of problems. Safeguards are used to verify compliance with the treaty through inspections conducted by IAEA. So safeguards, compliance is being happening or not with the provisions of the treaty, IAEA will see to it. The provisions of the treaty envisages a review of the operations of the treaty every 5 years. It was there originally till the first 25 years, that is from 1970 till 1995. And in 1995, it was extended indefinitely. That you can, continue. No review every 5 years is needed. Nuclear NPT, a success? Is it a success? So, adherence of 191 countries to this treaty in itself is a success. 191 countries minus 5, 186 are agreeing to the fact that we will not have, those 5 countries can have. It remains unique as because it is a bargain between nuclear and non-nuclear weapon states. The treaty facilitates cooperation on peaceful applications of nuclear technology under the watch of IAEA. And it can be credited with embedding the non-proliferation norm that is responsible for keeping the number of countries armed with nuclear weapons lower than 10 in the world. It's believed that lower than 10 other countries, those 5 countries plus North Korea plus Pakistan plus India plus Israel. So 5 plus 4, 9. Explicitly those countries who have declared that we are having nuclear weapons. So it is like this. Nuclear NPT, a failure. NPT in its present form tries to prevent horizontal proliferation but cannot prevent vertical proliferation. Vertical proliferation simply means that those countries who are having, they are keeping on increasing their nuclear arsenals. There, NPT is not coming into picture. Okay. So it is like this. There are still almost 16,000, more than 16,000 nuclear weapons in existence. There is no truthful adherence to the treaty also. This is also witnessed. Some are having secret nuclear programs, including Brazil, South Africa, Iran and Iraq. We don't know actually whether there are nuclear weapons with them or not. But it is suspected. Today NPT has been reduced to a treaty which protects the rights of 5 nuclear weapon states. It means that those 5 are allowed, the rest are not allowed. This is kind of hypocritical in nature. So, interest of those 5 countries are only fulfilled. Next is International Atomic Energy Agency. It is basically an agency under the United Nations. It is considered as a related organization of United Nations mandated with the objective of peaceful usage of nuclear fuels and see that the nuclear non-proliferation treaty is being implemented effectively. This IAEA came into existence in the year 1957 when a very famous speech by the President of USA of that time, Dwight D. Eisenhower, came into picture. That speech was known as Atoms for Peace, which simply means that usage of nuclear fuel for peaceful purposes should be there, and this became one of the major objectives of IAEA to ensure that nuclear fuel is being used for peaceful purposes and not for military purposes. So this is what it was, created in 1957, Atoms for Peace and Development Organization, also it is called as. Functions, it works with its member states and multiple partners worldwide for promoting and assisting research, development and practical applications of peaceful usage of nuclear technologies. establishing and administering safety guards, applying under the nuclear NPT and other international treaties mandatory comprehensive safeguards in nuclear non-weapon states. IAEA and India. Since 1957, India has been a founding member of IAEA only. January 2020, India joined IAEA Response and Assistance Network. RANET it is called as. What is RANET? It provides assistance in reducing the consequences of nuclear or radiological emergencies. IAEA certified the nuclear power plant in Rawatbhata, Rajasthan. There were 2 incidents of leakages in this nuclear power plant that year, which kept India in a difficult situation. Now, issues with IAEA. The International Atomic Energy Agency has no authority to trump the sovereignty of UN member state. Means if the UN member state says to IAEA that I am not allowing you to enter, IAEA cannot enter. It is like this. Sovereignty of that state is above IAEA, which keeps them or brings them in a difficult position. The 5 permanent members of UNSC, who collectively own some of the largest nuclear arsenals in the world, are never criticized by IAEA for their nuclear hegemony. Means there is a tilt or bias over here. So this is how we see this as an organization. So 3 very important topics we covered: Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, evolution of CTBT we saw, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, how it is working, and the third is IAEA, which is mandated for implementing NPT. So this is what was there in today's lecture. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative pieces and news. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.